Greetings, Cutter. We're going to be dissecting a mackerel today, and we're going to be doing it through free play, which gives us a nice, slow, quiet environment. I'm going to be dissecting a mackerel exolab today, because the lessons we learn from a mackerel exolab can be applied to all the other mackerels. Our first step on the exolab is to take all of these external parts off, and that's going to include using demo charges or our cutting tool to take off these antennas. The reason why I do this is because it makes the later part of moving all the panels much easier without worry. Now we only have the 2 antennas, sometimes this comes with 3, but that's okay. We're going to put tethers on before we blow it so they just immediately get dragged down and we don't need to worry about pulling it. Now going through the airlock, you can see here that we've got a fully pressurized ship. This is actually going to work in our favor, not against us. So first step we're going to do is we're going to pull down the doors. These doors can be just pulled out, which makes depressurization just really easy. And after sorting out all the doors, making sure they're out of the way, we're going to move on to depressurization. While depressurizing the main room, we're also going to depressurize the airlock. This makes leaving the ship much easier later when we need to, though often isn't a problem in how I do mackerels. It is, however, a good habit for bigger ships. Now through in this room, in order to make this as easy as possible because our reactor is right there, once I move this crate out of the way, I'm going to detach the thruster. And once our thruster is detached, we're going to grab the line cutter and we're going to cut both joints here. Now that makes it so that our pressurized compartment will push back that back case and our thruster and thruster plate there should stay still. This makes it really easy to then move these parts around, put them where we need to put them. Now the step after that is to pull out this reactor because it's right here. We have direct access to it and the barge. And reactors sometimes zap things when they get pulled out, so we're just going to immediately deal with that crate so it doesn't burn away and lose us money. The next step is to cut all these joints here. Now this side has no blockages, so that makes it really easy. Just run through and cut them. Now I like to go through this section in multiple steps. Take out the joints, take out the lights, then take out the electrical cable joints. With the electrical cable joints, we also have to make sure we take out the power cells first. Now, like many things in this game, I like to daisy chain them together. It makes it really easy to then pull them out once I have left this section. We're going to cut the electrical cable joints here so I can take them out easily without blockage. Throw that into the furnace. And then because these are daisy chained, we can just basically throw them out and they'll all go down. Now with the line cutter, we're going to cut out the electrical cable joints here. I use the line cutter because it's easier. And we're going to make sure we get these solar sails because the solar sails are worth a lot of money. Now I like to use the line cutter for this because it makes it really quick. The line cutter is quicker than the spot cutter. And if you make sure to put the 2 lines of the cutter only on the things you want to cut, it makes cutting extremely easy. With the panels disconnected, we can get it out of the way and we can make sure that we are ready to go. Now we're also going to get rid of this bull bar. We're going to make sure to leave the bottom section on though, because that will become helpful later. And using some tethers, we're going to move the nanocarbon sections out of the way, making sure to collect any lights or any electrical cables they try to take away from us. Now, for the electrical cables, we're going to position ourselves so we can easily throw them into the furnace. This is only one technique I have out of multiple, but I will show those other techniques on the other side. Now we're also going to make sure to use our scanner to pick up any extra little bits because seeing them in space can be really hard. And you can see that we're good there. Alright, over to the other side and we're going to pretty much do the same thing. We're going to make it easy to get in and out because we do have an airlock here. Now with the airlock, I like to make sure I get it done with the line cutter as well. As I said, the line cutter only cuts what the lines are on, and so you can see here the panel won't cut, but the cut joint will. Now, if you do this carefully, you can actually position yourself so it only cuts the cut points. Because as I've said, the lines of the line cutter dictate what it will cut, and the line cutter will only cut something behind it if there's actually a gap there. If you're careful with your positioning, it shouldn't happen. And we're going to make sure to cut the cut points on the solar sails as well. And once we've tethered them down and made sure to get the door console, we're going to continue cutting the cutting points in here. Pulling off the power cells so we don't cut them accidentally. Now, as I'm showing here, you can actually cut around them. However, this is one thing that I think is just a little bit too risky. But even if the lasers are coming from the tool on the right seem to have touched something, it will only count if the UI is touching it. Alright, now that we've cleared that, I'm going to show the second way to deal with the electrical cables that I use. Once we've made sure that they're collected and that there is nothing else in the way, we'll get right to it. Alright, we've got a coolant tank here to go in, and here we go. So like many things, I think the fastest way to do it is to daisy chain them together. If you do it the way I'm doing it, from the object that's going to move onto a still object, it actually is really easy to just connect them all. And then you need to yeet one or two, and I accidentally yeeted myself there. But you can see all of those pieces pulling each other in, because once one gets pulled in, the rest get pulled in too. Now, our next step is to do the glass, and I find it easier to do it from inside, essentially where the pilot seat would be, because it gives you a nice line of sight. It also allows you to do most of it without moving, or at least moving very little. Essentially, like most of the things in this game, if you position yourself right, you can get the cut really easy. Alright, so that goes in, and this bit will come apart because the glass was holding it together, but because we kept that bottom bull bar on, it actually keeps part of it together, and the small parts that would be really annoying to deal with are still together, so it only broke into 3 or 4 pieces. Alright, we're going to work on the internals now, including the top and bottom panels. Especially this aluminium panel here, which we could leave, but I want to use it to show some POV things. As you can see, we can't really reach it because of the crew beds there, but we do have some options. Can get it kind of peeking around this little wall here. There is a gap under there. However, the easiest way to do it is to disconnect that panel and then just look straight down and cut it. And as you can see from the next ones, you can actually get 2 or 3 if you line it up like this, depending on the kind of ship you're doing and how big it is. And then we're going to put all of these in the processor, make sure they're out of our way, including making sure the terminal goes in the barge. Now we're going to do a similar thing with the top panels, but usually the top panels are easier because they are less bombarded with stuff. You can, however, use the same techniques to make sure that you get them all quickly. Alright. Now, as I said, daisy chain. We're going to go through the internals, take out all the special parts in here. However, we're going to leave the electrical cables attached because they go the same place as the aluminium frame. That means we can just daisy chain those parts together and throw them all in, making it as easy as possible for ourselves. Now, you can do it with all of these rooms full of stuff. Just daisy chain them all together. It makes it really simple. And down they go. Now, so the reason I do this and the way the barge works is that you can put things in the barge, but you can't take them out. So once you've got something in the barge, it essentially acts as an anchor for the rest of them. Which means with higher strength, force push, and tethers, you can essentially make them pull themselves in. And now that we've done that, we're going to go through and collect all the last little bits. like the lights and the power junctions, and I missed a panel. A lot of the lights you can probably miss if you don't really care, and the posters you might want to collect. However, I'm trying to do a clean run here to show how I do things. The crew beds are some of my personal banes, as you can't daisy chain them, because the mattresses will get in the way, and the mattresses need to go in the furnace. So we're going to do them manually, making sure we put the mattresses straight in the furnace. Now at this point we need to be very careful because the ship weighs very little. We can actually use this to our benefit. When I grab something, I can actually twist my camera up to turn the ship. I'm going to do this so that the cockpit faces the barge. Now I'm doing this on purpose, and the reason why I'm doing this is because it makes the daisy chain out of the cockpit much easier. So if you connect the four there, you can pull them out, and it makes accessing all of the barge items in the cockpit so much quicker and easier. So when we're doing all this, we do need to be careful about where we're putting it, because as you can see, I put a tether in the wrong spot. So I clear them all out and I start again. Now, in free play obviously you have unlimited tethers, but personally I feel like it's a better option to just restart with your tethers than to possibly pull your whole ship into the barge. And we're of course going to be using our scanner to find all the extra lights and all the extra little bits that we might have missed. Now you can skip the lights, they're not really worth a lot of money, you can probably meet all of your goals without it. I just thought it was a good idea to do things in the cleanest way possible. We're going to use tethers to pull it into the furnace. You can cut the frame up to make it easier. However, that's probably not a method you need to use on a mackerel. Now, for the last bit, we're going to be going through with our scanner and essentially doing what I call cleanup. We're going to be finding all the little bits that you invariably miss, because this is a highly complex game with a lot of little parts. And this is what the scanner is best at least in my opinion. Now, as we wind down here, it looks like I've gotten most of the parts. And so that is how I cut down a mackerel. So the next ship we'll be cutting down is an atlas. And if you have any other questions about ships, tools, or anything else, please ask down in the comment section and I will get back to you, or possibly make a video about it. That ship was worth a cool 14,800,000. And with that, Cutter, I'm signing off. Thank you for watching.